Hello, Dr. Gibson, and I guess whoever else finds this. My assessment creation and presentation is going to be from the third grade. We're going to be graphing some categorical data. I've been doing this with my school and my field experience teacher right now. They just got started on graphs. They're in a second, third grade hybrid class. So this is really cool and fairly applicable. I took a couple of her reading strategies or a couple of her teaching strategies. I'm sorry, and decided to kind of use them and modify them. Instead of doing a test, I decided to do a project at the very end for my summative assessment. But anyway, let me get started. The standard I'm using, you can see it on the piece of paper there, but it's investigate questions involving categorical data. And inside those are three subsections. Identify statistical questions focusing on categorical data, create a scaled pictograph and a scaled bar graph, and make observations from the graph, including how many more or how many less type questions. So for my formative assessment, as you can see, I kind of just made a little graphing exit slip. I would probably use this in the first lesson or two about graphing, just to kind of open it up and to help understand the semantics of graphing. And so this formative assessment, this 3-2-1 exit slip, is a really cool strategy I love to use. Basically, it means what are three things that you learned today about such and such? What are two things you want to learn in the future about whatever you're going through? And then one question you have. And they're always also encouraged to write more than one question, but at least one question. Because, it's an introductory lesson. Children are not going to get everything on the first go. So you can see my formative assessment. What are the things you learned today about labeling a graph? What are three things you learned, two things you want to learn, and one question that you have. Again, the emphasis for this is just to help better my students' learning experiences. I just want to make sure that they are that they're not falling behind early. It's easy to catch stuff early if you're staying vigilant in the beginning of something like that. So I'll move on now to my summative assessment, which I'm actually quite excited for. I guess I forgot to mention my learning target for my formative assessment is I can draw and label a pictograph / bar graph. I know the standard says to do and or, but there will be lots of graphing in the future, and if kids want to draw pictures, they can. That's what my teacher was talking about as well, my field experience teacher. But sometimes kids just want to make the bar graph. So I kind of reward points for creativity and things like that, but I won't deduct points if they simply want to plot points like they're supposed to. So the learning targets for the summative assessment, obviously, I went in order here. So I started in order, as you can see from my summative assessment, my personal survey project I made for them. Learning targets are I can read and organize data from a survey. I can draw and label a pictograph / bar graph. I can plot data points on a pictograph / bar graph, and I can compare and contrast the data points to answer questions. So again, my rationale behind wanting to create this project, it's kind of like a conclusion to the unit. It allows my students to engage in their knowledge in their world around them while using math. So that's kind of a cool real world example, using surveys as an outlet for that. And again, the emphasis for this assessment will be scored on precision and also creativity, getting to maybe draw pictures of your different pictographs, those kinds of things. And so if you'll go to the summative assessment, as you can see, I have various different steps. Step 1, gathering your data. Step 2, labeling your graph. Step 3, plotting your points. And step 4, comparing and contrasting. So for step 1, step 1 completes the target, or I guess assesses the target. I can read and organize data from a survey. As you can see in my directions, I have in theory in this class, we would have created a lot of questions that maybe we wanted to pick from. And so I need my students to get 20 responses, either from their parents, from their friends, in the class, from me, from people at their church or people at their functions, whatever. Getting 20 people and then organizing the data by number and the name and of the different responses and the number of those responses in that little graph there. The little table chart, obviously second, third graders, they've already learned kind of about tables and charting and that kind of stuff. Step 2, labeling the graph. Add a little word bank up at the top, X, Y axis, title, that kind of thing. And then this is going to be this page right here, the labeling your graph, is actually going to be like the final one. And so I want them just to draw every part of the graph on the grid. And then if you go down to step 3, plotting points, I recommend that they sketch out their graph on this empty piece of paper before they go to their official bar graph or pictograph. And then I would have them come to my desk and I would check them off, that kind of thing. And then after they've plotted their graph, I have them sit down and answer some compare and contrast questions, because what's the point of plotting data if you don't actually analyze them? So we're trying to enact some higher order thinking there. Obviously, which survey answer had the most number of responses, all those different kinds of things. I added just a little subtraction equation just for fun. What's the difference? Question 3, what's the difference between the most common and the least common number of responses? Show your work. Pretty simple there for them, just to kind of get them, still be thinking about that kind of stuff. And then I have some open-ended questions, getting them to think creatively. Why did you choose your survey question? And then I have them find another classmate and compare and contrast their answers if they had the same question. And do you think, the last question, do you think your classmates' answers match yours? Why or why not? And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see my, and I'm running out of time, you'll see my rubric that I have, my just to seeing if they've met each standard. I'm labeled them as it's exceptional, it's above average. I have average, which is labeled AV, and then below average, BA. And I wrote down, there's my criteria at the bottom. If 80% or more meet 3 of the 4 standards, that is satisfactory, and I'll move on to a new unit. If not, I will take a step back and relearn and re-go through things to make sure those struggle students actually get the unit down. So, yeah, that's my assessment that I came up with, both summative and formative. That kind of enact. I'm sorry, I'm running out. Any questions?